The financial idiot who scammed the world. The narrative of Charles Ponzi, a man whose name became synonymous with one of the most notorious frauds in the history of the world, is one of the few stories that are both entertaining and instructional for those who are interested in financial scams and deceitful schemes. His story is not just a chronicle of financial folly and worldwide deception, but is also a stern warning against the seduction of rapid riches and the devastating repercussions that can be brought about by them. Ponzi is the subject of this film, which dives into his life and reveals the complex network of falsehoods and manipulations that enabled him to deceive people all over the world. In the early years of his life, Charles Ponzi traveled from Italy to the United States. The year 1882 found Charles Ponzi being born in Lugo, Italy. The early years of Ponzi's life were distinguished by a family that was previously prosperous but later experienced a fall in their financial situation. Ponzi was profoundly impacted by this transition from ease to difficulty, which instilled in him a desire for fortune and a life free of anxieties over money. Aspirations like these were the driving force behind his travel to the United States, which was a search for the American ideal that many immigrants aspired to. Nevertheless, Ponzi was confronted with a hard reality when he arrived in Boston in the year 1903. It turned out that the streets were not paved with gold as he had thought. Rather, he met the challenges of a regular immigrant, working menial jobs and confronting the sharp contrast between his goals and the challenge of making it financially in America. The Montreal experience. First steps into fraud. During his time in Montreal, Ponzi's route to notoriety started to take shape and become more apparent. After his relocation in 1907, he secured a position with Banco Zarossi, a financial institution that catered to the Italian immigrant community. This was the place where Ponzi initially was exposed to the concept of financial fraud. Ponzi was put in a perilous situation as a result of the bank's eventual failure, which was caused by the bank's involvement in immoral actions. It was in a last-ditch effort to keep up with his lifestyle that he turned to forging a check, which ultimately resulted in him serving his first sentence in prison. The significance of this encounter lies in the fact that it exposed Ponzi to the seedier side of financial fraud and planted the seeds for potential scams in the future. As a result of taking advantage of international reply coupons, the Ponzi scheme came into being. In the course of his journey back to the United States, Ponzi came upon the concept that would eventually lead to his notoriety. He discovered international reply coupons, also known as IRCs, which, due to the disparities in the values of different currencies, could be used to make a profit. Ponzi's scam was straightforward but audacious. He promised investors handsome returns by purchasing these coupons in nations with weaker currencies and redeeming them in the United States for higher value. He did this by purchasing coupons in cheaper countries. In January 1920, he launched the Securities Exchange Company in Boston, promising investors tremendous returns on their investments. Investors were initially drawn to the program because of the promise of instant wealth, which intrigued them. The allure of quick riches lies in experiencing rapid growth and success. Ponzi's scheme expanded at a truly astounding rate. The fact that he was able to pay early investors their promised profits, which were supported by the influx of new investors, provided the illusion that the investments were legitimate. With the spread of the word, an increasing number of individuals were drawn to this investment opportunity that appeared to be risk-free. In the view of the general public, Ponzi's scam was successful, as evidenced by the fact that his lifestyle got increasingly extravagant. It was believed that he was a financial wizard who could quickly amass enormous money because of his abilities. During this period, Ponzi's career reached its zenith, and his name became often associated with returns on investments that were exceptional. Deconstructing this is the con, the role that the press and authorities played in it. On the other hand, when the Boston Post began investigating Ponzi's business, the tide began to shift against him. His business concept was met with increasing levels of skepticism, and the press played a significant part in contributing to the public's growing sense of uncertainty. When the authorities grew interested in Ponzi's rapidly expanding business, the investigation became even more intense. As additional information about Ponzi's questionable financial operations came to light, the legal noose tightened around him, which signaled the beginning of the end for his fraudulent financial empire. As well as the legal repercussions, Ponzi went bankrupt. Dramatically and speedily, Ponzi's plan was brought to its knees. During the time that investors were demanding their returns, it became clear that the project was not viable despite their efforts. Punishment was handed down to Ponzi, and the consequences were disastrous. Many of the investors lost their investments, and thousands of investors were left in a state of financial disaster. In the courtroom, Ponzi was confronted with a multitude of charges, and the trial was a spectacle. In the end, he was given a prison sentence, which was a fall from grace that was just as quick as his climb to stardom. Not only had the Ponzi scheme broken the hopes and dreams of a great number of investors, but had also left an unmistakable mark on the world of finance. The enduring impact of the Ponzi scheme is referred to as the legacy of a scam. The story of Charles Ponzi is more than just a story about financial fraud. It is a cautionary tale about the hazards of greed and the dangers of investment possibilities that appear to be too good to be true. Throughout the history of finance, the phrase Ponzi scheme has become an indispensable part of the vernacular, serving as a symbol of the ultimate betrayal of investor confidence. The legacy of Ponzi serves as a reminder of the significance of maintaining vigilance in the financial sector and the requirement for regulatory monitoring. The lessons that can be learned from his experience are as follows. When it comes to investments, if something appears to be too good to be true, it most likely is. Key takeaways. A look at the dangers of overachieving. Ponzi's narrative is a prime example of the perils that can arise from unrestrained ambition and the pursuit of wealth without regard to ethical implications. One of the most important aspects of due diligence. Investors should always apply a high level of skepticism and meticulous analysis, particularly when confronted with investment offers that promised tremendous profits. What role do regulatory bodies and the media play anyway? It is impossible to overestimate the significance of the role that can be played by investigative journalism and regulatory monitoring in the process of identifying and preventing financial fraud. Deception in the financial sector has consequences. The Ponzi scheme exemplifies the disastrous effects that fraudulent financial activities have on individual investors as well as the larger economic system to which they are exposed. Lessons in financial literacy that will last a lifetime. To successfully navigate the investing environment, it is vital to possess the ability to understand the fundamentals of financial investments and detect the indicators that may indicate the presence of potential scams. Final thoughts. The story of Charles Ponzi functions as an enduring educational tool, shedding light on the complex relationship that exists between human striving and the ethical considerations that are involved in financial transactions. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of keeping integrity in our pursuit of economic success and the necessity of remaining vigilant in the face of alluring money opportunities. Ponzi's life and activities shed light on a key fact in the world of finance, which is that genuine prosperity is frequently the result of wise investing plans that are founded on realism and ethical behavior. We must use Ponzi's story to serve as a guiding light as we navigate the complex world of investments. It should serve as a cautionary tale, warning us against the seduction of rapid riches and highlighting the importance of honesty and due research in all of our financial activities. A complicated story of ambition, duplicity, and the consequences of unbridled greed, Charles Ponzi's path from a hopeful immigrant to an infamous swindler is a testament to the complexity of the human condition. Not only does this story tell the story of the man who defrauded the entire world, but also tells the story of the world that allowed itself to degenerate. The lesson that caution and skepticism are useful allies in the realm of finance is brought to light by this indisputable illustration. Do you like it? Tell us comment section below and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel.